All right, well, it's 6. I feel like we might as well get started. I think a few other people may be joining us. But it's this, this will be fairly informal. I'm going to talk briefly about the department, and then I'm going to pass the mic to the other folks here. I'm Judy Halas. I'm an associate professor in the sociology department. I've been at SUNY New Paltz for 15 years, so I've got a good bit of history here. I'm joined by Terrell Connor, who, hi Terrell, who's the coordinator of the Criminology Concentration within the Sociology Department, and Meta Christensen, who is the director of the Human Services Concentration in the Sociology Department, and Juan Ramirez, who is one of our fabulous majors in the Sociology Department. And I see we have another person who just joined us, Caroline. Hi, Caroline. Hopefully you can hear us and see us. So I'm just going to talk for a few minutes about the sociology department. Then I'll pass the mic, and then we'll have plenty of time for you all to ask questions and get to know us, so you get a sense of what SUNY New Paltz is like. So the sociology department is actually one of the biggest departments at SUNY New Paltz. We have 13 full-time faculty members currently, and well over 400 undergraduate majors, and a slew of minors. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me because it's always changing, but we are one of the biggest. But despite that, we're actually a very intimate department. We try to create an intimate learning environment for our students. We have very small classes, typically ranging from about a maximum of 20 to 35 students, and some are even smaller than that. So you'll get close mentorship from faculty in your classes, and and often you'll end up in a class with one of your academic advisors, which is nice because then you get to know them in other ways as well. You will also benefit from a lot of the applied learning experiences and professional development that we offer. So we emphasize internships, student research, and when it's available, again, international study abroad. The department hosts a study abroad program every summer, outside of COVID, of course. And fingers crossed, that is going to be in all of our futures again soon. And I think most importantly, besides the connection that you'll develop with faculty, and the kind of experiences you'll have, you'll also develop a really nice connection with other students. You'll end up with lifelong friendships and a professional network. And both of those are really beneficial. I see Juan nodding his head. Yes, thanks for the confirmation. But I see that among our students. And you can talk to alumni and other current students, and I think you'll hear the same thing, and especially in our department. So sociology, you're here probably because you're already interested in it, but I'll talk very briefly about our approach to sociology. So when you study sociology, one of the main things you do is you learn about the connections between individual experiences and larger social forces. And so that means you'll learn about things like structural inequalities based on race, class, gender, sexuality, disability, nationality, right, immigrant status, many factors. You'll also learn about a lot of the issues that are facing contemporary society. So we're talking about things like immigration, mass incarceration, violence, climate change, gentrification, and poverty, a lot of the things that we're seeing in the news, but that are also really shaping our lives. And of course, public health and pandemics become a topic when they become part of our social world. So sociology is very good at pivoting to focus on what the contemporary issues are and helping you understand them better and get a critical perspective on them. In our department, you can study general sociology, which gives you a broad exposure to these issues, or you can include a concentration in criminology or human services. And a little later, Terrell and Meta will talk about those concentrations. Regardless of what your focus is, all of our students develop a very rich understanding of inequality, of diversity, and you end up with marketable social research skills. So this isn't just for learning, you can get a job after this, I promise. Our students do well in the job market. It may be far off in your future, but it's a good thing to know. You could tell your parents, it'll probably make them happy. So what happens with our students after they graduate? Today I was reflecting on a lot of the alumni that I know, folks that I've taught over the past 15 years, and other alumni I've gotten to know. And actually, they end up in a wide variety of fields. So some of the more common fields are social work and law, criminal justice, and counseling. We have folks who end up in community development and economic development. Some folks end up working in the tech sector. Um, Not that we're teaching them tech courses, but they have the critical and analytic skills that really position them to be effective problem solvers and leaders in those fields. We have folks who ended up in human resources and recruiting, some excellent applied researchers. So they do social research. I have a student who's in urban planning, some public health folks now, that's a great thing to be in, some folks who've entered government, environmental justice, and even education. So we have really a wide range of fields that people end up in. And I'm sure I've missed a lot, right? And there's some quirky ones like fashion, but that's not because we trained them to be in fashion. They just ended up there, right? So that also happens. We have, we're one of the few departments to have an endowed scholarship for upper division students. So it's for juniors and seniors. And it's a really nice thing to know that it's dedicated to sociology students, and you can apply toward later in your undergraduate career. So that's I think some of the highlights of our department. And I'm going to pass the mic to Terrell. He'll tell you more about the criminology concentration. And then, after each of us gives our little presentation, ask us questions, okay? All right, Terrell, you're up. Terrell, we can't hear you. Your mic's not on. Hold on, folks. We're having technical difficulty. You want to try again? Oh, now you're muted. Now you're unmuted. Nope. Still can't hear you. Sorry, folks. This is life online, right? The reality. You want Meta to go first?
I think I should be fixed now.
No, you're good. We've
Yeah.
got you. Okay.
Yeah, for some reason it was connected to something weird, not my mic. Sorry about that. So kind of what Judy was saying, thanks for the rundown, Judy, the opening, and talk a little bit about the criminology concentration. As Judy said, I am coordinator of the concentration. Everyone, like Judy said in the beginning, everyone's kind of a sociology student, and then these separate tracks can just be like a specialization area, right? So we all operate under the sociological umbrellas and the lens and sociological imagination and all that great stuff. Within the concentration, I know sometimes students have little sometimes misconceptions when it comes to the differences between criminal justice and criminology, and this is a criminology concentration. So with criminal justice, you're more often taught things along the lines of criminal procedure, law, institutions, kind of how things work. Within criminology, we kind of discuss how these things or why these things operate the way they do and how they impact the community and society as a whole using that sociological lens, right? So sometimes we get transfer students or other students coming from criminal justice backgrounds and they take police procedure and law procedure and all these other kind of classes, but those are not kind of classes we teach. We'll teach classes like race, crime, and punishment, criminological theory, which is a main class, controversies in criminal justice, crime and gender, which is going to be taught, sociology of violence, the list goes on and so forth, right? So a lot more theoretical, conceptual in those ways, but not kind of like the procedural things you would get in a criminal justice program. With that being said, a lot of our students do go into some of the traditional criminal justice areas. So a lot of my students are interested in law school, right? And so a lot of them take that route and go that way. And, typically around their junior year, et cetera, I start to have conversations with them as far as what they're thinking about doing. And those that are interested in law school, we have a lot more conversations as far as what kind of law you want to go, what kind of law school you want to go to, and kind of helping them prepare at the timeline of events, when to take an LSAT, how to prepare, what's the best time, maybe even structuring certain classes so they can focus on their LSAT, right? So like Judy was saying, with our department, you kind of get almost like an individual kind of case plan, right? You get to intimately know your professors, and we spend a lot of time with you, especially within the criminology concentration. You take a lot of courses with me, and then you'll probably take a lot of courses with the new professor we have, Dr. Anna Jika, as well. So not only would I advise you, even if I'm not your advisor, you would spend a lot of time with me because I teach a lot of required courses. In the concentration, we do have a separate track. So that means you have to take a couple of additional classes. Criminological theories is a required class. You have to take a couple of crim electives. One of the cool things we do is we have students take crim cognates, which are 2 classes that are outside the department. So typically, if someone is interested in going into law school, maybe I would suggest them taking a couple of classes in political science. Sometimes folks are interested in the kind of forensic aspects of things. So maybe they would take a couple of courses in psychology, or maybe even biology in 1 or 2 cases that I've had in the past as well. So that kind of opens the door for you to get experiences that can also look good for going to a law school or going to graduate school, or just even working in the community, getting some extra exposure. Students are also required to take an internship class. Typically, they take that in their junior year. And so, again, throughout the course, while you're in the department, I get to know you, ask questions, and we try to figure out what you're interested in. And then, the best we can, try to put you in a placement that would be helpful to you, whether helpful getting you to law school, if you want to go into law enforcement, or doing community work is a big facet of individuals in our concentration too. So we, instead of, students typically go to things like law enforcement, which we now have connections with UPD for students to do, but also law enforcement agencies in the area. A lot of students do work in the DA office, whether it's Ulster County or other surrounding places. And then also community work, places like Exodus Transitional Community, which is a program that's used to help re-entering individuals that were in justice involved back into society. So students really love that one. That's kind of a new one they started doing as well. We have Exodus. We have what's the other one I can't think of right now. And then also students like to work with like sometimes at-risk youth, or just youth programs. Could be Boys and Girls Club or other things. We've had students intern at juvenile centers as well. So it's wide ranging. We're pretty flexible what you're interested in. We want you to get that exposure so it can help you get to the next level. Um, Outside of that, I think that covers kind of the basic gist. I'll keep the door open for questions that you may have earlier, but I can pass it on to Meta.
Hi, so thank you, Tyrell and Judy. So I'm Mary Christensen, coordinating the Human Services Program. And when I'm done, I'm going to pass it on to Juan, who is a sociology student, and he has chosen to concentrate in the Human Services Program. And we have some of the same setup that Tyrell has in the Criminology Concentration. And some of the main features of the concentration is that students have to apply to our program because we have limited resources. We have 2.5 faculty member, and we are all social workers with different backgrounds. So when you enter New Paltz, you have to have about 30 credits before you can apply, and you apply in the fall semester. Often students take Introduction to Human Services in their sophomore or junior year, and then the actual concentration starts in the spring of the junior year. And then students stay together for 3 semesters as a cohort, as a group, and take these consecutive courses. And there are 2 courses that are taken together every semester. One is the Human Services Theory course, and the other is the internship or field course. So students take 7 credits together every semester and spent, I always say, Juan, maybe you can correct me, it's about 5 hours a week together for 3 semesters. So people really get to know each other, both among students and also obviously faculty and student between. And as faculty, we teach the same students. So we get to see students from the field internship experience and from the classroom. in addition to that, and all our classes are just called human services. And so that is not very helpful for new students when they look at the schedules, like, what the heck is that? But to be honest, we chose that some years ago to just call them that because it gives us incredible freedom to, as trends change and things change, we can kind of just make the changes within the courses without a big to-do. And maybe, Juan, you can talk some about what you have done in the courses when you start talking. So in addition to staying together as a group, as a cohort, we also have with 3 required internships, and we're very proud of that because it's and our whole department focuses on internships because there's an incredible value in that, in getting out in the real world and trying different things. When there's 3 internships, you get an opportunity to be very nervous the first internship and say, what the heck is this? You know, because you can't get into college without knowing how to be a student, sitting in a classroom and learning. But we haven't necessarily learned how to be interns. So it's a very good experience to be able to kind of, you know, find your way the first time, then feel better prepared the second time. And then the third time, you're like, you know what you're doing. And we ask students to diversify so that they don't do like 3 internships with adolescent, or 3 with the elderly, or 3 with disability, or 3 in domestic violence, but that they get some diversity and try to do different things. And you'll hear when Juan starts talking that due to COVID, we have made a lot of changes because we had to. So some students have stayed in the same internship because it was good for a whole year, because why change something and go online when our situation is so uncertain? And another main feature of the concentration is that we have a focus on arts and recreation. And that's because if you work in human services, you work with youth, you work with people with disability, or you work with people with mental health issues, substance abuse, whatever it might be. The reliance on counseling skills only, the idea that you sit and talk about whatever issues you have, can be very limited for a lot of people. I spent 15 years working in the field before I got into academia, and most of the people I worked with actually could not talk. So the idea of talk therapy is not very helpful if you can't talk. So we have expressive arts courses, encourage students to take ceramics, music therapy, Black dance, acting. So they learn skills that when they get out in the field, and certainly when they graduate, they bring those skills with them and can use them. And then, well, I guess I'll save that. Where do our students go? Well, while they're in the concentration, they do internships in children's home, day program for people with disabilities, different kind of disabilities. It could be substance abuse places, interpersonal violence, domestic violence shelters and programs. Focus on social action and social change, Planned Parenthood, and also all the domestic violence or crime victims programs, they focus on that. We also have what we call preventative programs, so after school programs, community-based programs where problems are hopefully prevented, and not like, you will hear that from Juan. Juan works in a program where there have been abuse and neglect by the time we call people service participants get involved. So graduate programs that students go into, and here we have a lot of overlap between what Judy has said and what Tyrell has said. Most of our students go into social work, but not exclusively. We have students who also go into mental health counseling, school counseling, special education, public administration, higher education, law also. We have students who have done international work, whether it's community development or it's human rights work, and students doing, we just had an alumni come back and talk about her international human rights work. So a lot of different things. And I hope between what we've all said that you have an idea about how applicable our degree is, regardless of concentration or not. Then we also have especially in human services and international focus in all our courses. The program was inspired by a European model. And for the last 25 years, I've taken students abroad to Denmark, to Italy, to Germany. We have had programs in Spain, and for the last many years in South Africa. I have actually retired from the program, and our new, she's not so new anymore, but Kat, my colleague, she's continuing that. And of course, COVID has, put a little break on that. But she's going to continue with the South Africa program and is working on developing a program in Nepal also. And I guess I want to finish before I pass it on, reinforcing what both Judy and Tyrell said about mentorship. And I want to add supervision. We do a lot of supervision when students are out in internship, but you will find mentors because we really do spend a lot of times with students. And with that, I want to say that research have found that students in college should have, no, they shouldn't focus on, but they should have, in addition to being in classes, 3 distinct experiences that will make their college experience much more rich. And one is mentorship. We've already covered that. The other is study abroad. Whether you spend a week in London doing theater, we have a program at New Paltz doing that, or you spend a month with Kat in South Africa, or a semester in Prague, wherever you go, that's incredibly important. And the last thing is the internships. Regardless of what you choose to go do, Nick and Jessica and Caroline and Sophie, make sure you do internships. So I'm going to pass it on to you, Juan, and take it from here. Thank you.
Yeah, I honestly don't know where to begin. I have so much to say. But I guess just a bit of background about me first. I'm currently a senior, and I am graduating this May. Currently, I am the senior resident assistant here on campus in one of the residence halls. So I'm very busy along with my internships. But I joined the cohort because I applied for the human services concentration, and I just knew that it was probably like the best route I could take because it's what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with people. I wanted to learn more about the skills and learn, and just like the concentration itself seemed very interesting to me in the way you just learn in a different way than what like a normal, I guess you could say normal social work route would take you. You take intro to human services, and when you take that class, you kind of just see like how different, and you get new perspectives about different things such as race, class, gender. Um, and so I joined, and I've loved every single second of it. I think it's a great concentration. Um, you do have the 3 internships, and because of COVID, it did look very different. I actually studied abroad the semester I was supposed to start my internships in the concentration, which Meta was so helpful in managing that. We were able to figure out a plan for me and for me to study abroad and still continue in the concentration. But I think one of the best things was my internships. I got to do one over last summer, and that was more focused in on working with adolescents and working with incoming college students as an orientation leader here on campus. So that was a lot of fun, applying a lot of the skills that I'm learning in the concentration to my work. So that was my first internship. And then last semester, I started an internship here at the Family Education Program in Kingston. And I've been working with families and children. And basically, the work they do is just having supervised visitation and home visits with parents who are at risk or have lost their children to CPS, which is Child Protective Services. And so I work with a lot of family educators at the program, and what they do is they basically just coach parents, they help them out, they give them resources on how to be not, I don't want to say better parents, but just how to, you know, be the best they can be for their children. And so it's been a lot of fun so far. I was there last semester. I'm there this semester again. So I've been there for about probably like what 6, 7 months, and I've gotten to just grow and learn a lot about the field itself, of the human services field, from the internships that I've been in. You learn a lot in that, you see a lot of real things. What I mean by that is that, it's one thing to learn about, like, uh, let's say like substance use, violence, or something else, but then having to have people say it to you and realize that these are real people, that are out there, and they're facing these issues every single day of their lives. It really does hit you in a different way, and it makes you realize that, you gotta just have to prepare yourself for this field, and it can be challenging at first, but um, it is rewarding at the end. That's my spiel on the concentration.
Can I just ask you, Juan, thank you. Can I just ask you to talk a little bit about the cohort experience?
So, yeah, so basically what Meta was talking about, the cohort, so you have, like, if you enter the human services concentration, you have a cohort about 30 students, and you take classes. You take fieldwork 1 and theory 1 your spring of your junior year most of the time, and for those next 3 semesters, you just have classes with these 30 people, and you really get to know them really quickly. You get to know what people enjoy, what people don't enjoy. You kind of get to know, I know this sounds kind of corny, but you get to know like their dreams and like aspirations, and like you really get to make, like, as Judy said, lifelong friends. I definitely have one, Bryn, who I studied abroad with, and now I'm in the concentration with, and so Bryn and I have been through it all, like, these past few semesters, and definitely a friendship that I'm going to keep forever. But I also know that with my cohort, I'm going to be able to keep those connections with them. Um, we, I, I know a lot of them now, and it's fun that we have like a group chat as well. Like the 30 of us, we have a group chat, and we kind of just talk about, like, oh, so like, how's your internship experience going? How's your internship experience going? Obviously, we're talking about homework as well, and we're helping each other out. We're doing the best we can. At this point right now, my cohort is writing our thesis. Each of us are doing our thesis and our capstone project, and we're just talking and talking about how stressed we are, how tired we are. And that's not to scare any of you, but that's just more like, when you get there, you get there, and just knowing that you have a cohort and you have a group of people that you can, like, say like, same, I'm tired. I want to get this done. It's so refreshing and so just calming that there's other people in the same boat as you are, but it's all going to be worth it at the end.
Thank you so much. I'm just gonna in the chat put my the link to the concentration. And am I hitting the right thing? No. What am I doing? I'm hitting the right. I don't know. I can't even put something in the chat. I'll put it in the chat. I don't know what happened here.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna bring it back to you, Judy. Thank you, Juan, again.
So what, and in fact, while you're doing that, I was going to suggest, I'm going to put a link to the department, but also if I can get my computer to work.
Yeah, I can't. I'm totally losing any
Okay.
skills that I might have.
So the first one is fall courses in sociology. So you get a sense of what that looks like. So Terrell posted the human services concentration. Oh, my link didn't actually work. Let's try that again.
Thank you. I don't know why I can't put anything in the chat. So I'll try
That
again.
again. Okay. Sorry. So you have the links to the 2 concentrations. You have the links to the classes, and then we'll give you one more link so you could be really linked up. This is the link to the department overall, so you get a kind of a holistic sense of the department. I think it's worth exploring these sites and seeing what it looks like. You'll get to see some pictures of actual students right now and the faculty. So it's nice to see all of that. A couple of things that I think are worth mentioning before we open it up to questions. All of our students, right? I mean, we talk about the concentrations in the general track. All of our students take certain courses, regardless of what concentration they're in. So everyone takes Introduction to Sociology. Everyone takes Social Inequalities. everyone takes sociological theory and social research methods, and those become the core foundation so that everyone has a sociological framework or lens that they bring, whether it's to their human services courses or their criminology courses or other electives. We offer lots of electives in a wide variety of topics related to sociology. In addition, we really promote interdisciplinary learning and scholarship. So as faculty, many of us, we're in the sociology department, that's our primary home, but we also contribute to other programs like environmental studies, women's gender and sexuality studies, Latin American and Caribbean studies, Asian studies. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few because we all film and video studies, that's me. So we wear a lot of hats and contribute to interdisciplinary education, and we encourage our students to do the same. Whether it's cognates that you would take in one of the concentrations, both concentrations have cognate requirements, or if it's having a minor or a second major. Many of our students complete a double major or a minor that complements what they're doing in our department, and we encourage that. We think it's nice to see those kinds of linkages across different fields. So you wouldn't be, we're talking a lot about sociology, but it's not because we only promote sociology, we just happen to love it. But we also, recognize the value of really getting a broad liberal education where you can make the connections across different fields and use that as you go forward in life. So with that, I'd like to open up the floor to questions you might have, anything you might want to know. You can ask any of us. You could ask Juan too. He's our student representative, and so he can give you the skinny on that perspective.
Well, I just have a quick one for Meta. In the concentration, how long do the internships last, like on average?
They last a semester. So we normally say 13 weeks, even though the semester is 15 weeks. So you kind of get started and then you start your internship and then you go throughout the semester, and it's 8 hours a week. And now I'm talking pre-COVID, without COVID, because we've had to be much, much more flexible during COVID, even though every single student is in an internship and is having a learning experience. It's just some are remote. Juan is, now you're remote and in person, right? But Juan has been, I guess, lucky to be able to be in person. So it's the semester long. It's 104 hours in 3 different sites under normal circumstances.
And I'll add, whichever fieldwork course you take, whether it's one of the 3 fieldwork internship courses in human services, or the fieldwork in criminology for criminology concentrators, or the fieldwork in sociology that's optional but encouraged for the general sociology track, it's about the same, right? It's this 8 hours a week for about 13 weeks. That's the expectation for an internship. And that way you really get to know the organization that you're interning for, you build skills, you experience some challenges, and you figure out how to address them, right? And you grow from that. And so it's a rich experience. It's somewhat time intensive, but I think, the value of it is tremendous, and it looks fabulous on your resume when you graduate. So it really, it does a lot for you. Plus you'll get a professional reference, which not all students have when they graduate from college, right? You'll have someone who can speak to your professional skills and professional development.
I think you might have mentioned this, but at what point, like what year do you declare a concentration, if any?
So that
Most
depends. Well, go ahead, Meta.
No,
Yeah.
so I think in the sophomore year, you can, and so you can't declare human services, like I said, because we have an application process. That's very doable. It's not big, huge. It's not like applying to college. It's a little more smooth than that. But so this is, I guess I'm reaching out to Tyrell and Judy too, but I say in sophomore year, because a student might come in and say, I'm going to do accounting. I have a lot of students whose parents said, you should do accounting. And then they start on accounting and they're like, what the heck is this? And then they take intro to sociology, or they take crime and society or social inequality and go, I love this. And then they declare. So some students come in right from the bat and know they want to do sociology, but other kind of stumble over it as they are taking general education classes. So Judy and Tyrell and you, Juan, I don't know what you, when you decided that you were going to be sociology.
Well, I'll jump in and then I'll pass it to Juan. So I think typically students declare at the end of their sophomore year. That's the standard expectation, is that by the time you enter junior year, you will have a major. And the concentration is in addition to the major, right? So most people would say, all right, I'm going to declare sociology. And then they may say, I also want within sociology to include a concentration in human services or criminology. The criminology for now, you can just declare it. And as Meta said, human services, you apply. And so it's a slightly different process. There are a few other majors on campus that you have to apply for. You don't have to apply for sociology. You just say you want to do it. But the concentration in human services, you do have to apply to. And yeah, I don't know, Juan, what year were you when you declared sociology? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think I do. So I declared sociology my sophomore year. My sophomore, yeah, my second semester sophomore years. So I declared only because I had taken I had so many different options. I was like very confused. I was like, I don't know what to do with my life, honestly. And so I took Intro to Soc and what's it called? The Intro to Human Services at the same time. And I only took Intro to Human Services because I just needed a class to do it, honestly. I remember telling the story to Kat, who's the other professor. I was like, I honestly just took your class because I just needed a course. And I just fell in love with it. And I was just like, oh wow, like this is exactly what I want to do. This is what I want to learn. And then so basically I declared then, and then the semester after, so my fall semester, my junior year, I declared for the concentration. I applied, and luckily I got in. So I mean that's why I'm here. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It just kind of happens all naturally. Sometimes, like I said, I thought that I was gonna do like maybe international relations because I kind of wanted to do something like international wise, but you just honestly end up taking a course and then you love it and then that's your major.
I should say that we have a lot of students who are like, but I want to do both concentrations, so because how do I choose? And also Tyrell and us in the human services, we actually share internship places. We both have students at probation. We both have students in other criminology settings. And you mentioned, Tyrell, like Boys and Girls Club. We also have students there. So you can, it's very unusual to concentrate in both, but it is doable. But what we normally say, and we just had a talk about it in the department, we say to students that one way to do it is to go for criminology and then take Introduction to Human Services and other human services related courses, or choose to do human services and then the electives that you have to take, you can focus them on criminology. So I hope that you can, that you don't leave this little meeting here thinking that you have to make these earth-shattering decisions, because you can learn from all the offers that we have in the department, regardless of what you choose.
And in fact, if you don't declare any concentration, you can still take Intro to Human Services, you can still take Crime and Society and a lot of the criminology electives, you can take the human rights course. So there are classes that you can take in your electives that allow you to learn about all of these focal areas in our department. So the concentration is something that some students do, but not all. But it is there, right? And they're feathers in our cap because they're really great programs, so they're very carefully structured, and and we're really proud of them. But just know that even if you're just doing the general sociology track, you're going to get an excellent education, and you'll be able to tailor it to your interests. You'll be able to focus on, you know, the electives that you really are excited about. So what else might you want to know?
Well, this may be a question that not really anyone can answer, and if not, that's completely okay. But I was wondering what it would look like if someone was to be, I mean, I guess it would look pretty normal, but if someone was to be a sociology major while they were in the Scholars Mentorship Program, because I know that they have a required course your first year, and then I know that, you know, there's more required courses. So would those all just pile up freshman year, I guess?
So I'm in the Scholars Mentorship Program. So I don't know if you know, I don't know who reached out to you, but Mark Remnant is the director, and I'm pretty sure it's only 3 courses that you do SMP, and yeah, you do have the one required course at the your first semester. But I wouldn't stress too much about, like, you know, like, because some people like tackle on a whole other what's it called, minor, and you have enough time to do like everything you need to do. I was able to do like, well, no, I'm just saying, like, like the Scholars Mentorship Program, the honors program, and the I granted I didn't finish the honors program because I just didn't have time. Like, I put myself way too much. But you do have time. You're able to do all of it together, and you know, you just kind of have to just figure out your courses, and then what do you want to do first, what do you want to do next, and then everyone's very flexible too with trying to help you out.
And that's the sort of thing you would talk to your academic advisor about, how to plan and schedule this so that you can do all of these programs that you're interested in. You know, so Juan is one student who's done the Scholars Mentors program. We've had others. We've had students who also did the honors program. And as I said earlier, plenty of double majors and folks with minors that they tack on to their sociology major. So, you know, for your undergraduate degree, it's 120 credits typically, right, for a BA. And the general sociology major is about 38 credits. So that leaves you with a lot of room. You do have to take general education courses. Sociology covers some of that, but not all of it. If you go into one of the concentrations, it's more credits. The Criminology Concentration, Terrell, you'll have to give me the number. It's 40 something credits, and I think for human services it's what, like 58, 59, 60. Okay.
Yeah.
So
But that's still within the 120. Some students
Yeah.
are like, oh my God, I'm going to be
Right.
39 by the time I graduate. That's not
Right.
the case.
No. And a lot of these courses, especially for the larger concentrations, overlap with gen ed classes. So you can kind of take care of more than one requirement at a time with a course. There can be a little bit of overlap between majors if you have a double major, or between a major and a minor. It can't completely overlap, but there can be some overlap. So there are strategies that students use to really maximize those 120 credits. But rest assured, if you have your eyes set on, you know, a particular program, you can do it. And sociology is not a big major in terms of the number of credits, so it actually really lends itself to exploring other opportunities on campus. I'm not sure if any of the other folks have questions.
Yeah. Nick or Jessica or Caroline, do you have any questions you'd like to ask, or comments that you have maybe? And it's okay if you don't want to
Yeah,
put anybody on the
okay.
spot here. That's okay. I could say one example of when Judy talked about overlap with minors. Most of I think it's most of the human services students actually also have a minor. And then sometimes people end up saying, this is too much, I'm going to drop this minor, but they're still taking courses in it, you know, but most have. And it could just be, it's always, I think it's always 18 credits when it's a minor, or it's around 18 credits. So popular ones would be Black Studies, Psychology, Political Science, Anthropology, Women Gender Studies, Sexuality Studies is also a very popular one. And then we have, because we collaborate with other programs in human services, we have a very good deal with deaf studies, where students only have to take 9 credits to get a minor, because the other 9 are human services courses. So by just adding 3 classes, you have a major, a concentration, and a minor. I think it's really great to focus on a minor if you can. And if you can't do a whole minor, take some of the courses and really get a sense, because all that we do is interdisciplinary. So, yeah.
Do any of you have questions, maybe about what's happened during COVID? I'm not sure what you've heard, or if you've been talking to students who are now in college. We could talk a little bit about that. Would you want to hear what's going on and what we hope to foresee for the fall? Yeah, okay. So where we're at now is probably different from where we'll be in the fall. We're hoping for that. So in the fall, we expect to have, I don't like to use the word normal. That's a loaded word, especially in sociology. But I can say that we hope to return to having more classes in person. The majority of classes will be in person, or a hybrid. And a hybrid class means that you meet usually once a week together in person, and then you'll have another part of the course online where you don't come in physically. So most classes will be totally in person or hybrid. There will be a few classes that we anticipate will be fully online. If that doesn't appeal to you, you can work your schedule around the classes that are 100% in person. You might be able to do the opposite, although I wouldn't really encourage that for your first year. I think first year, it's really good to get an experience of coming in, getting to know people, getting to know a professor, getting to have a sense of what it's like to be in a college classroom. It's a little different than high school. And so I think that experience is really valuable. And also just getting to know the campus and campus life, right? And I think all of that can be really great. Currently, most of our classes are remote. So probably like the experience many of you are having in high school. I don't know exactly where you're at. And I know, for example, in New York City, high school is just reopened-ish for some people, right? It's kind of a funny moment. So at New Paltz, most of our classes are remote currently. We've put a tremendous amount of effort as faculty into making that as rich an experience as possible. One of the benefits, if there can be a benefit of COVID, I think one of the benefits is that we have really, learned educational technology deeply in a short amount of time. Many faculty, some faculty were already excellent at that. Others hadn't been exposed as much. And now I think you're going to find that the toolkit, the teaching toolkit that your professors will have when you join us in the fall will really be enhanced by this experience. And we'll be able to capitalize on that and bring some of that into traditional classes. That said, I think most of us are looking forward to being in the classroom with students again, because that, it's really dynamic. I think we all really, we do this because we enjoy it, right? We enjoy the experience of being in the classroom with you all, helping you learn, learning from you in the process, growing together. I mean, all of that happens. And I say that genuinely. I've learned a lot from students as much as I've been their professor. So I think, that's what we're looking forward to, and that's what we're hoping for. We don't have total control over this situation, but I can tell you that as a college, the college is, interested in getting us back in the classroom in the fall. So if they have any say over it, and they certainly have more say than we do, that's the direction that we'll be heading in. And I don't know if Terrell or Meta, if you want to add anything about your perspective on this.
I guess I'm curious if Juan, because my guess is that you have had all modalities. You have been in person. Now in human services, we're doing hybrid. We meet in class on Tuesdays and then we're online on Fridays. But some students are unable to be there in the class, either because of immune systems or because they have simply either chosen to or been forced to kind of stay at home. So, but we do have that. So do you want to share what your experience has been with the different modalities, Juan?
Yeah, so what I can say about as you said, Meta, I've done in person my first 3 years here, and then last semester we did all remote, and then now this semester I did hybrid, which I did one day remote on the computer and then one day in person. And so I just think just got to take it step by step, it's been challenging, but in a good way, because you're learning a lot about not just other people, but yourself as well. And then you learn a lot of time management, trying to figure out what you have to do as a student. And then I think you just have to keep reminding yourself it's a learning process, because I've definitely seen how we've gotten into situations in the concentration where we're just what we're just going to do what we're going to do, and we're going to see how this happens. We're just going to see how this goes. And so I think that's great that Meta has been able to do that. She hasn't ever once tried to be perfect, and she's just been, we're just gonna do it, and then we're gonna see if this works. If it doesn't, then we'll change it. And I think that's one of the best things. You just have to be very flexible.
No, if you're looking for perfection, don't come to me. That's for sure. But anyway, it's not a bad, I said to students, maybe it's a cheap reframe, but I don't think it is. That whether you're high school students or college students, or we're, educators, coming out of the pandemic, we have certainly learned to be flexible, all of us, and have learned to do things a different way. I would rather be without the pandemic, like I'm sure all of us would. But looking at what we have learned, and you talked about that earlier, Judy, and certainly you, Juan, is really important. So sorry, Tyrell, if I stole your thunder. And would you want to add something?
No, you're good. I'm in agreement with all what you all said. I think it's been a big adjustment. Personally, I'm the kind of instructor that has things very structured and rigorous, but I had to learn to be very flexible. Right? It's a pandemic, so hey, there's a lot of crazy things that are happening, and we need to make adjustments and adjust on the fly, because I've never taught online before as well, and I know students weren't used to having all their classes online, so it was just a lot of flexibility, right, in this period, to be understanding. And I'm working with the students, they're being flexible with me, right? If dates are messed up or things are not working correctly, right, it was a two-way street in that regard. So I think yeah, I think it also in some ways, brought, at least some of me and my classes, a little bit closer together, right, because we're all experiencing this at the same time. And I think although it seems kind of weird because we're a little bit more distanced because we're not physically in person, but I got to know a lot of my students on a lot more personal level than I probably would have if we were in person. Maybe because they felt more comfortable having conversations with me because we're on the via screen versus being in person. Who knows? But I would appreciate that. And then also when I think about courses like field work and things of that nature, I think a benefit of that is now that we have internship sites that can be done remotely, that may be something we can continue to have, right? Because sometimes students are limited in their travel, or if they're limited to be on campus, and then sometimes we have to find things that are in walking distance. But now that we have these remote options, this can expand certain experiences for students who may not be able to move around as much. So I think some good things to come out of it, and I know we're all ready to get back in person because that's what we all prefer, and hopefully to get back to somewhat being normal, like Judy was saying.
And I will say, I think going into the future, some of these skills will be valuable, both in school and in your careers. The technical skills, the flexibility, the adaptability, learning how to Zoom and WebEx all day long. And I think also the communication skills that you have to develop when you're on a screen and in this way. I think there are some benefits to that. Of course, in person, those skills are also really valuable too, and you'll get that at New Paltz. So yeah, but I think in fact it has been okay, right? As far as the quality of experience. I think people have made the best of it. I think students are learning, and I think it'll be really interesting to see how things shift back to a more in-person experience in the fall. Yeah.
I would like to say a last thing, which is a very general statement, regardless of who you are and what your major is, not even concentration or track, what your major is. When you, hopefully, all four of you arrive to New Paltz, or if you end up somewhere else, but I hope you come here, that one of the first things you should do, regardless of what it says about advisor, come to our department, hopefully in person, right? We could do that. But if not, reach out to us and come and meet with us personally, start a mentorship advising relationship. So you might meet me first, but end up concentrating in criminology, or you might choose to do the regular sociology track, and Judy might end up being your advisor. But it's so important. I've had juniors come to me, and I know you have too, Judy, and I'm sure you do too, Tara, where they sit and they say, oh my God, I've never sat with an advisor and had like a long time to go through my courses. I've been very confused for 2 years or whatever. You don't get in that situation. Be assertive. That's why it's part of our job. You know, it's not just because we're nice people. I think we're nice people, but it's actually our job to meet with you, to guide you, to mentor you, to learn from you, like Judy said. So please reach out to advisors in the department that you're interested in. And initially, it doesn't matter who you reach out to in our department, you will be welcomed very well. We are all very conscientious advisors. So make sure you get a relationship, not just with your peers, but with the faculty. And Juan, I guess because you have another hat, you have the welcoming new students hat. Do you have some words of wisdoms to new students?
Yeah, so right before we're done. So last summer I was an orientation leader. This past summer I was a senior orientation leader. So I have a lot of experience with the Center of Student Engagement, and basically, I don't know if they've been reaching out yet, but over the summer you're going to get an orientation leader. In a normal year, quote unquote, you would come over the summer for 3 days, and then you would meet an orientation leader. You would get an orientation group. And it's a lot of fun. You get to meet so many new students, and there's usually about 14 orientation leaders. So over that summer 2019 was the year I did it. I got to meet over 2,000 students of the incoming class. So if you do decide to come to New Paltz, you're going to get great orientation leaders, and they're hiring them right now, and I know a few of them who I hope get hired. So you guys have a great support system coming in, and I know that for a fact.
Thanks, Juan. So I'm not sure if Terrell or Meta, you want to share any final words, or if any of you folks, Caroline, Sophie, Jessica, or Nick, if you have any final questions, now would be the time.
So I say, come on over to Sociology. We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
I know this was said earlier. I would say, one of the reasons I joined this department 6 years ago, it's definitely a very welcoming and warm, supportive department. That's from the faculty end, but definitely from the students end as well. We care about the students. We want to see you all succeed. We want to see you all flourish and spread your wings and fly and do great things. And that really, you can. I know you guys can't, but if you were able to ever see, the faculty listserv with the people in the department, every time a student does something really good or accomplishment or alumni, we spread the word and everybody's really excited. And it's those kind of things that are genuine that, I can't say is true for every department, but I can speak definitely for this department that you will get a lot of support as far as, guidance, whatever it is, advising, career advice, classes, navigating, all that kind of stuff. We're definitely here to help you all thrive and succeed. So, if you're looking for that kind of department, and sociology is definitely the place to be.
Thank you. Well said. Well, thank you all for coming, and thank you for your interest, and congratulations with your acceptance. And we hope to see you in the fall in real life person on the 5th floor in the faculty tower and in classrooms.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. This was really lovely. It was nice to see your faces, nice to hear your voices. And yeah, like Meta and Terrell said, I hope to see you all in the fall.
Thank you for
Thank
this.
you. See you in the fall.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good job,
Thank you,
folks.
Juan.
Nice
Thank
meeting
you,
Thanks,
Juan.
Juan.
All right.
This was really, it really makes a difference, and thank you for your contributions.
Of
Super.
course.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Thank
right.
you. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.